Today we are going to get stuck into the front nose. Let's do it. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I have got a replacement little front A-pillar lower section. We're going to cut this guy here off and replace it. And we're going to do that on both sides because this one's well and truly roached. And then I also have these guys which go on top of it. So this one is that's left. And that one is right. So this guy ends up going like that. No, yes, yes, no, yes. Like that. So that part gets welded on. So we've got to replace that, get all this surface here prepared, and then we can get that lower nose welded on. So first things first, we've got to work out exactly how much of that one we're going to cut off. Now there's a whole lot of seams. I don't really want to damage too much of this dog leg because we're going to save, even though this is pretty clapped out, we can't get another one. So we're just going to have to repair this little corner in here and this little section in here and this massive dent here, which I'm still looking at that going, yeah, that one's going to be fun games. And then of course this whole bit here, which is all smashed in pretty nicely too. So I think what I'll do here is probably just buzz it down here with the saw, the little air saw that I've got, and then I'll cut this to here, peel this piece off, and I think what we might do is cut it. I don't really think we need to go too high up, so I might even cut it about here, just at this point here, and then I can weld it in there because again that will interfere as well. So let's see how we go. Let's just start pulling it apart. But yeah, I want to get that part replaced because I suspect behind here is going to be pretty rusty. What we can probably do is just chop a little window out of that and have a little looky inside. Let's start with that first. Actually not too bad. A little bit of surface rust in there, but yeah, not too bad. But yeah, we'll still remove it. I think it's probably a good idea too, being that it is a structural part of the vehicle. Let's start unpicking it and see how we go. Let's mash some bits out of it. Okay, so we have the offending article here. I've put the copper primer on the inside of it and just treated the area, and that is where it's going to go, like so. and we'll just tack it in position and then check all our measurements, make sure it's correct. So there we go, that's our little piece put in. Obviously this thing's still swinging in the wind here, so we need to wait till we've actually got the front valance on, so then we can work out where everything else is going to go. This needs to get pushed out a heap, and this one here has to come out probably an inch, maybe even an inch and a half. But yeah, this part here's got to go on like so. Where are we? Like, I always get confused when I'm putting this thing on. It's like one of those weird puzzles. Like that. There we go. Like that. There we go. That's how that lives on, but that goes on afterwards once that's on. So next job now will be to replicate this on the other side, because as you can see there, that one is completely knackered as well. So we will chop that off and get the next part of that one put on. Okay, so here's the other side. A little bit more of a complex angled cut, but the idea is it's going to sit in just like so, like that. We'll get that tacked in, and then we can do some measurements before I fully weld it, just to make sure it's at the same level as the other side, and we'll go from there. Okay, so before I do any more welding, I need to get this piece here sorted out, because obviously she's swinging in the wind. This is swinging in the wind too. This has to come forward quite a lot. And we've just got a little bit of a discrepancy in heights here from this side to the other side. Now I know that guy's perfect because it can only go in one location on the chassis rails. But the issue we've got is when I go and place this in here where it needs to go, and I go and put the pillar in, the pillar's about probably 1/4 of an inch out. So this one's been braced, so I've braced it here, so this dog leg isn't completely severed, so this hasn't moved on this side, but I've got a feeling, and obviously because this has been in an accident here and this has been pushed in, this whole geometry here is out of whack. So I'm not going to weld anything here yet until I've got the dog leg reasonably repaired and I've got a door hung on here, and make sure the gaps are right, and then I can start looking at getting this part all welded in. So we'll just start to try and fix this mess. I don't know how we're going to go. I mean, you can see here this has actually been raised up, and there's some rot inside there as well, and I mean that's going to be the worst of it right there, and the rot inside there too. So we'll probably just shift our focus onto this now. So let's start smashing it. Righto, so unfortunately this part here is just really bad. I mean, I know I'm trying to save this little section here of blue, but at the end of the day it's going to be covered by the bumper bar, so I think I'm wasting my time a bit to try and repair it. This part here is just far too crunched in to try and pull it back out. So I have this piece, which I got from my stash a while back, and I think that'll work perfect, just putting this piece in instead. Then I can at least attack the rust behind it. So I think we'll chop this piece out and put this guy in instead, and I'll go and sandblast, just clean up all this surface rust already. So we've got the driver's door ready to get repaired. As you can see, this corner here is pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty much all rotten. The weird thing is the other side's actually not too bad. So we might even try and save that. Oh, but I do have an extra panel for the outside skin as well. So I suppose the first thing here is we're just going to have to trim this off, and we've got our replacement piece here. Obviously he's going to do something like that once it's done. Tricky part of this repair is this whole section here is completely cactus, so we're going to have to remove it. I'm going to have to drill holes in here and mount the hinge in, and now that has to be absolutely perfect. You know, it's got to be lining up exactly in the right location, otherwise it won't bolt together in here. So we'll probably get some points off this and just measure, you know, take a ton of measurements to make sure we put it in the right spot. The other battle I've got here is this hinge is completely butchered. I do have some old hinges that were on the 55 that I can salvage. See, this one here is okay, so I'm just going to have to punch the pin out, and that's actually moving, which is pretty cool. Let's chop this all out and start doing the repair on it. And once we've got this done, then we can actually hang the door, get the door hung, make sure all the door gaps are perfect, and then we can, you know, move this where it needs to be. This one's been, I just gave it a light etch sand just to put the primer on it, but that's ready to get welded in, and then we can keep moving forward. Bit of a jigsaw puzzle, you know. This is what happens. You've got to keep your order, like baking a cake. You've got to have the recipe in the right order, otherwise things don't go to plan. So, you know, we've got to do things in the right order here to make sure that everything is going to line up properly at the end. So let's get to it. What a mangled mess. I've got to try and save it because I don't actually have this part. So yeah, we're going to have to do some repairs on it, which is going to be bloody difficult, but anyway. Okay, so I've sandblasted it, and I am just patching up all these little holes here. This pretty much looks like Swiss cheese, but you know, I'm using my little copper backing and just plugging up all these little holes. I mean, obviously you're not going to see it, but all that part there needs to be all structurally sound. And I'm going to go and pull the pin out and try and save this whole piece. So we'll just keep welding it up, make it look whole again. So I've got the hinge put together on this one, and if anyone's ever tried to get these pins out, they're an absolute nightmare. Trying to press them out and do all sorts of, you know, whacking them with hammers and all the rest of it, and you end up just damaging the, you know, the surrounding metal. The best thing I've found is using the air chisel, and you use this little attachment on the end of the air chisel and basically stick it onto the pin like so, and just buzz them straight out. And it's amazing. A little bit of heat and a bit of WD-40, they just pop straight out. So that one I've pressed back in, so that's ready to go on this. And on the top hinge on the front door, I've separated the parts that some butcher has just chopped. You know, they've just gone and destroyed the hinges, unfortunately, on both of them. So I've got these ones, which are the original hinges that were on the 55. That's the bottom hinge that's been torn out. And that is a top hinge, and I think this is a top hinge too, but I've got a feeling that one's bent. One of them's bent. I don't know if it's that one or this one. I've got a feeling it's this one here. But we're going to use this and attach it to the other part of the hinge that's connected to the door. So of course we have to remove this pin here. All right, so here we go. We're doing a little bit of choppy here, and we're just getting ready to put the outer skin on. We're going to weld that in position, and then we can move on to putting that guy on like so. Today I've got Josh doing some work over here too. He's doing rubbing back.
Fun and games.
Fun and games. So this was a green door, and we've revealed, doing the paint stripper and the sanding technique that we've done on the front, we've got the Dove blue back again, and it's come up an absolute treat. Very cool indeed. So we've got to do the other door too. I did a trial fit of the door on here with the hinge mounted like that, and it's got to move a fair bit, but we'll get to that in a second once I've got the bottom of this door done. So let's start tacking this sucker into position and go from there. Okay, so Josh has headed home and he's done a great job sanding this one back to somewhat of the original blue. There's a little bit of the red oxide there as well, and we'll probably take care of this one a little bit later. I've managed to get the repair all finished with the hinge in the right position, so that's all done. And I have also the lower valance welded into spot as well, so that's all welded in. Next job we're going to do is drop the beam out. We just want to get it out the front there and clean it and degrease it, paint it black, and then that'll give us some access to the underneath of the chassis to Fahrenheit the rest of it, and then get some red oxide on it and the blue, and then we can basically paint the beam on the ground, get that all sorted, get all this mucked up. You can see it's just caked on with grease and everything on it, so get that all cleaned up. And yeah, so that's probably it for today's effort. Just trying to think what else we've got done. Yeah, pretty much just worked on the door, both the doors. This one's done as well. If you have a look, we got all the green. This one came out actually really good. You can see that. We got all that green yucky paint off it. So that's a bit of blue patina back. And yeah, Josh is back tomorrow, and yeah, we'll continue on. So all right guys, that'll do it for today's effort. I'm tired. I'm going inside, get a cappuccino, you know, one of those things, and yeah, we'll catch you in the next episode.